camera's rolling.
When you and Mel write a book, what are you going to talk about? What are you going to try to bring out in your book?
I never even thought of anything like that. I'd have to give that some thought. I was doing this on Mel's request. He wanted to write the book. I don't particularly care to explain nothing to you. I don't look up at you for any reason to bring my report card home anymore. Does that make sense?
Well, no, what I'm trying to find out is, what would you like to bring out in the book that can teach other people?
What can you teach other people?
That's what I'd like to know. What
Yeah.
do you think you can teach other people?
That's what I'd like to know, too. I know how to be reborn and start all over. I start all over. I don't start all over with the same old. I just start all over. Even though I might be old, I'm still brand new every day because I do one day at a time, just like that old convict used to tell me. Isn't that what he used to say, Mel? One day at a time. So I've learned to live my life in one day at a time.
Is there anything you think you can pass on that society really is missing and that you can tell them about?
Society knows when it wants to know. There's just a jellyfish, and it's only controlled by the people who want to move the sheep around. They'll tell them anything. Everybody knows that everybody's lying. Do you know anyone that tells the truth? Can you trust a lawyer? Can't trust a lawyer. You can't trust. Who can you trust? The President, Nixon, the Watergate? Look at where your children are looking at it from. Who can they trust?
So you would try to tell parents something about raising children?
I would try to tell the children how to help the parent.
How?
By realizing that the parent is the child. Because he doesn't understand the child, but the child understands the parent. I've got to talk with little kids, they just tell the truth. No lie in them.
What do you want to point out in the book if you bring that out? What would you like to point out?
You people are on your road going where you're going. If you don't want to stop from going where you're going, I'm not going to stop you. You know, you're going to your destruction, not mine. I've already established mine. You know, I've already went through mine. I've been judged. The judge gave me 9 life sentences.
But hold a minute. You really are. But in your philosophical talk, a lot of people won't, it'll go right over their heads. That's what I'm trying to say. Put it so they can understand it in lay language. Can we do that?
Well, it's sad all over, really. You know, it's hard for me to express how much sadness that I've went through to reach this point of understanding that I'm now talking to you from. How are you going to help somebody that don't want help? Hit them in the head and make them do it?
Will your book do that? Will you try?
Will I try?
To explain that?
Will I try to help you people destroy me some more? Is that what you're saying?
No.
That's what I'm doing here.
Will your book help children? Help parents?
I don't know whether it would help anyone. I've never thought about that. You guys would have to show me what help is so I'd know what it is. You teach me, I'll learn. I'm just a little kid in mine. See, I've been in jail 30-some years. I never lived in your world outside. I'm like a little kid out there.
Will your life story help somebody else to understand how to proceed?
If it was possible to present everything that's came down in the last few years in the proper perspective, it would be advantageous to other people, I would imagine. But if they had eyes in their head and they could see under the bed, they'd see that heads of lead and eyes of wood. It doesn't really matter because rubber fingers is taking the hand off into the universe anyway. The level of comprehension that you hold in your mind is only taught you by a school book that's in a sorority house. My father jumps off the Second World War in the ruptured ducks that were in the little pins and the buttons, in Section 8 in the nut wards, and all the people that have gone crazy.
Your father was crazy?
My father was all men that I've ever met in prison. Mel's one of my fathers. Creepy Carpus is another. I learned something from everyone. The captains, the wardens, I never missed anybody. I learned as much as I could from everybody I could get a hold of. And I've never met anybody that I couldn't learn something from. But now that I have learned what I've learned, I don't think you people want to know what I know. You wouldn't like it.
Why?
Well, because it's not very nice.
Well, why?
Because the people that you let run your lives aren't very nice. The people that govern you, the people that tell you people what to do, they're not good people.
Let me change the subject for a minute. You've been back on a job out of segregation for how long now?
I don't know. I got up and came out here today.
How long have you been working in the chapel?
I explained to you, I live one day at a time.
Right.
I don't have any other life outside one day at a time.
What brought you back into the mainline population?
What brought me back into the mainline? The preacher, with his love and respect and help, got me back on the mainline.
After all that years of solitary, all those years of solitary and segregation, how is it?
Still right now I'm doing the same day I've always done. I've just had to bring it a long ways. But it's still today, and it's still a good day. And every day it gets a little better, no matter what you do to me.
Are you at peace with yourself?
Whatever that means, I never even thought about to ask myself if I was. I don't generally talk to myself. But I guess talking to yourself would be all right.
He just said to me, you know,
You want a sound check from us?
I'm all set.
I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
I want you to give this question a lot of consideration. You don't have to answer me now, but can you imagine what it would be like to be interrogated by the SS?
I don't know whether I could imagine it or not.
Think about it.
Well, I know what their tactics are. Okay. Can I answer it after the interview?
There's no doubt about it, is there?
Can I answer it after the interview?
Very serious, isn't it?
Sure it is. Can I answer you after the interview?
No, you don't have to answer me. You can just think about it
I will.
in your everyday
Okay.
doings.
Let's talk about Helter Skelter. Bugliosi paints you as a small would-be pop singer, as he describes it, of little talent. How do you react to that?
Bugliosi looks in the mirror every morning when he shaves, and that's the only person in Bugliosi's world. Just him. Ask his wife. She knows it.
What about the accuracy of the book, though, Charlie?
He had the dates right and the names right, but he had a million illusions that had nothing to do with my reality. He was only trying and convicting his own reality. It didn't have anything to do with me. I've already been through all these prisons.
But he did paint you as probably one of the most universally known persons
To who?
around, to readers, people who read it.
And they believed it?
I don't know. What do you think?
Then they're not as good as what they read, are they?
But the book, how accurate or inaccurate is it?
I never read it.
Didn't you brief it one time?
I read parts of it.
Yeah. How did you find it?
Like I say, it was reflections of what he was thinking. It had nothing to do with me. Seriously, the Charlie Manson that you created, that's not me. That's only an illusion in your minds. It hasn't got anything to do with me.
What's the real Charlie Manson?
I haven't really been able to make him up. See, I've just been reborn again, see, and I'm learning now. I'm starting all over, and I'm learning. The preacher's teaching me, the teacher's teaching me, the counselor's counseling me, and the doctor's looking out after me. The guards don't bother me that much, and I don't bother them that much. They do their jobs and raise their kids, and I do my job and do what I do for my kids.
You know, there was a time a while back where when you got out into the main line, you ran into trouble. I remember Bobby Davis up at Folsom.
I ran into trouble?
Well, you got into trouble.
Who told you that? You see what I'm saying?
Did it happen? Did you fight?
Many things have happened. No, I didn't fight.
Were you fought? Were somebody come after you?
Where I fought? Sure, I've been fought many times.
Did somebody come after you?
Someone come after me? No, someone could come after me if they wanted to.
But did they?
No, they've always left me here. Nobody wanted me.
You haven't had any trouble on the outside?
On the
in the
outside
past?
where?
In prison.
In the prison, no. In the population, no, I get along with most of the convicts. The convicts that get along with themselves. There's much harmony in prison. More every day. There's much wisdom in the prison. More every day.
Getting back to the book, what is this magnetism that people keep referring to? And it's been beyond that. People writing you, wanting to meet you, your people that you had in the desert. Mm-hmm. What is the magnetism?
Why don't you answer that question?
I'm asking that question.
Well, can't you see?
Well, tell me, what is it?
Well, what do you think it is?
Do you know?
Do you know?
Don't play games with me.
It's no
Seriously.
game. I know. That's why. That's why you're asking me questions, and I'm not asking you questions.
Okay.
You see, I don't need to ask you questions. I already know.
Could you tell me?
Sure, I can tell you. Do you have the time?
I'm here.
Where would you like to start?
Well, what is it? Go ahead and tell me.
What is what? Are you secure?
Charlie.
The government is the United States. The government has never been more secure. Never been more secure than it is right now.
Hold it, bud. Seriously, I want to know. All right?
Okay.
What is it that draws people to you?
Music, motion, generating, attention, reality. I know. When you know, you just simply know. Jesus on that cross. You know he's there. Is he there? Is the cross there? I know the cross is there. You don't have to put me on the cross to witness for the cross. I can see the cross. Now what I'm trying to do is get back to earth so I can go out in the desert. I've already cleaned that thought up once. And you put another president in.
But you said
And
it was
every time I
people-
clean it up, you put another president in.
All right,
you know.
you said it's people who are in harmony with you. What do you mean by
The
that?
people that are in harmony with themselves, in the will of a child. The child has a will. You tell a child to come here, and the child will walk over. And you tell him to sit down, and he'll sit down. He's just in the will of the child. God and his children are in the will of a child. It's just as simple as the Bible said that you must be as little children before you enter the kingdom of heaven. If the Christians had believed in the Bible, then we wouldn't have all this conflict. But evidently, the only ones that are in conflict now are the Christians. You know, like they don't seem to believe in their own God for some reason. I don't know what it is. Maybe they need to see him on the cross again. Or maybe they should pray for him to come out of the sky in a silver platter. Or, you know, I don't know. I'm just here, and you're there. And who is your reality? And where do you get your energy from? And where does your soul flow? And your thoughts? And how do you know you know? Unless you have to come and say, Charlie, how's the Dow Jones?
You read the Wall Street Journal?
Certainly I read the Wall Street Journal. I'm right at the top of your brain. And I'll read the Wall Street Journal until you let me walk out that door a free man. Or we'll just use Indian head pennies for earrings.
What if you did get a parole date in November? What would you do?
Then I would give it some serious thought. I don't have room in my mind for could-bes. I have to deal in what is. I can't think about what I want. I have to deal with what I'm allowed to have.
What if you got a date?
If I got a date, then I would probably have a date.
Do you know what you'd want to do?
Yes, I have many plans. A lot of plans. I'd like to clean up the water. I'd like to go up in the mountains and start at the top of the mountains and clean the springs up. Take all the pollution out of the water so I could drink it. Clean up all the green things and pick up all the old beer cans and clean all the way to the ocean. And then maybe we might be able to save a little air and water for our children. Because I'm living in my child's world now. I'm working on his world. My world already went to the gas chamber.
What if you don't get a date?
If I don't get a date, then I won't have a date.
Have you thought about it then? I know you want to get a date. But what if you don't?
I gave it some thought, but not that much. I've gave it thought in relation that it's possible that they'll be pushed to make some sort of move to alleviate the pressure that they've created on themselves. If there's any way that I could help that, I would. Then that way I could achieve what I'm after also. All I want is what the Constitution said I could have. The liberty and the right to look for my freedom the way I want. If you gave the Constitution to me like you said you were supposed to, then I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't have been here the last 11 years. But if you let your politicians play like they're Christians and use your courtrooms to further their own purposes, then all you're doing is big business with your own children's lives. And it really doesn't make sense to me, but I don't have the president's spot to make any change. If I had the control to make the change, I have the power to.
Oh, wait. You see it come on and go off?
Nope. Oh, yeah, I see it. So if I can get comfortable here, I might be able to set all the way down.
You know, we were talking about this. The book Helter Skelter.
Right.
You said that there are a lot of things wrong with it. What's wrong with it?
Well, the book's all right. Got good paper and all in it. All this paper comes from trees. It's a shame to waste all your trees writing this trash for your children to be raised up in. Do you want your children to live according to the gospel of Helter Skelter?
Where are the inaccuracies in it?
Well, it would take me as long as it took him to point them out. It took him 2 years in court to invent them. It would take me 2 years in court to uninvent them and redo them and show the proper perspective of it.
Bugliosi.
Yeah. Helter-skelter simply means confusion. And if you don't see the confusion in the world, there's always been confusion in the world, then I guess you don't know what confusion means. But like, I get out of jail, and every time I get out of jail, society's moving a little faster, and they're doing crazier things. And I get out and I can never adjust to it outside because it's almost impossible to do anything right. Everything is wrong to somebody. I mean, you can't. You have to hide, and you know, day people and night people, and everybody all divided up. And
Did they make up the evidence introduced in court?
a big percentage of it they found and created themselves. They'd push a fingerprint together till it got to be, they justified it, and then they'd send it to another office and let them push it a little bit. Then another office, and they'd push it, and then finally they'd find another point till they finally come up with a fingerprint. Then the people that supposedly left the fingerprint has never lied to me, nor I to them, told me that I wasn't even there in that particular portion of the crime. I was over in this particular portion of it. In other words, all the little things that they come up with, like the trailer, the door from the trailer that's supposed to have had what we wrote on it, is what they wrote on it, and then they burnt the ranch down to cover that up, you know.
But in no way, are you saying, in no way are you connected with either the Tate or La Bianca killings?
No, I'm not saying anything like that. I'm saying that if it would have come out in the courtroom, I would have explained what happened. All we wanted to do to start with was tell the truth, but the lawyers wouldn't let us because they wanted to sell it. We just wanted to tell the truth, but they didn't want the truth to come out because you couldn't write books with the truth, couldn't make big money, couldn't sell all this madness, all the fear and the vicarious thrill for somebody.
Charlie, regardless of helter-skelter, do you belong behind bars?
There's no behind bars.
Do you belong in prison?
There's no prison. It's only in your mind.
Do you belong in an incarcerated position?
There's no such thing. There's only you denying my will. Whoever denies my will keeps me locked up here. If everybody agrees to let me go, then I'll walk out, and then I'll be free. And my chains are in everybody's mind. It's in their will. If you will me to be locked up, then I must stay locked up. If you will me to be free, then I'll be free. It's not as complicated to me as it is to you. You look at it through the books and the paperwork. I don't look at it that way. I look at it from the way I look at it. So, I'll ask you the same question. Do you think you deserve to be locked up somewhere?
I'm asking the questions in the interview. Can I do it?
Well, certainly, but you have to ask yourself at the same time.
I realize that.
You know, if justice came, where would we all be? We'd all be in some sort of trouble, wouldn't we? That's why we have Jesus. See, he takes up the slack.
Let me get back to the book for a minute. What do you think Mel is going to try to bring out on your life?
The years that we've known each other through the prisons, and the point of view that he has from the other side about someone that's went through a dilemma that he understands because he's been in many dilemmas of the same nature, maybe not as vast, but then I think that he wants everyone to know that I'm not really the guy that you think I am, but the guy that you made me.
How did we make you?
Well, you raised me from childhood.
How, in what respect are you?
Well, when you have a child that nobody wants, he's always sent to boys' school, orphanage, reform school, or someplace like that. And then they keep him till he gets to be an old man.
Were you beaten as a child?
That hasn't really got anything to do with anything.
Were you abused as a
Well,
child?
we're all abused now and then. That's not really an issue to anything.
What is the issue?
Not to your question.
All right, what is the gut issue?
In the book that he wants to do,
what is the gut issue?
well, I think he just wants to put what he thinks is wrong right and give another point of view. And really, what I really think is, I think Mel's done just about everything he wants to do, and he don't have anything else to do. I think he just wants to do it just to be doing it, because it gives him something to do.
Hold it, bud.
Well, it would make sense. It's just another game to play, see?
I don't.
He would give them immunity for burglaries or let them off some deals. If they stole a few cars, he wouldn't prosecute them if they told him something. And they'd lay in their cells just working, trying to think up something, anything they could think of to get up off that conviction where they wouldn't have to go to the penitentiary. Told him a lot of things, and most of the people I didn't even know. Linda Kasabian, for example, she'd only been at the ranch a couple of weeks. I'd seen her maybe twice. You know, like I never paid that much attention to the people that came and went at that ranch. They just came and went as they chose.
So you're saying he's took a few pieces of truth?
And missed it with his ability to play with words in colleges and books and things, and he wanted to impress someone with all the things he's learned, and he wanted some attention, and he wanted to be all the things in the movies, you know, so he played his part. And I wasn't allowed to play my part. I was only allowed to sit down and be the figure that was dragged off into the hole all the time, because he had the money behind him, because he said he had the people behind him. But that's another thing that's wrong with your court system. Your court system's not based on the will of the people, it's based on the will of the money. So your courts are not really protecting anything but the money. It doesn't have much concern for the people anymore.
I've got a curiosity. Can I ask you a question? Remember you had an X years ago and you changed it now to a swastika?
No, I never changed. It's been the same thing all the way along.
Wasn't it always an X?
No, it never was.
What's it stand for?
It stands for whatever I mean it to stand for, and whatever I make it stand for, and whatever I want it to stand for.
But you didn't one time say you were Xing yourself out?
No, that was your newspapers that gave you that.
What does it stand for you?
It stands for many things. It would take 2 or 3 weeks to explain all the things that I've built.
Can you give me an
In
example?
the image. Certainly, I can give you an example of the United States flag of America.
The swastika?
The rising sun in the Japanese flag. The Star of David to the Israelis. Whatever country or nation or people or cause has always had a symbol.
And that's your symbol?
That's mine. I put that there from 2 or 3 other symbols. I didn't want to put a Christian symbol, and I didn't want to put an Antichrist symbol, and I didn't want to put a pro-communism, and I didn't want to put an anti-thermoflacaflop and all that kind of stuff that you play.
But it is a swastika. That would be Germany, wouldn't it?
No,
Nazi?
that's not a Nazi. Hitler got that sign from mysticism and reversed it. He did the same thing, only he did it backwards. You know, it's the thought's still here, just like the thought that he picked up was there when he picked it up. The thought has always been here. It's been here since the pyramids have been here, since David and the giant, since the whole thing's always been here. And every once in a while, there's a guy like Gandhi that comes and picks it up. Or there's a guy like Maharasha Yogananda, or somebody coming out of some prison, or somebody doing something, and they pick it up for a while and they carry it for a few steps, and then when they're gone you say, oh, what a good guy he was. But while he's here, he's always just no good at all, you know.